because their belief is against homosexuality or it's for it?
Well, the pastor evidently married a gay couple.
Oh,
I guess that's what really tilted the
Okay. Well, I would expel him too.
Hourglass against his favor. And plus, I mean, evidently, I guess did I read it that it was his son that was gay?
Yes, you mentioned about his son. And that was in California too, Pastor Dean. See, that's the other problem. California before 2012. Not to cut you off, Danny, but Brother Dan, I don't know if you remember in 2012, California was they blocked gay marriage up till the referendum. The referendum.
Yes.
It was, remember, the referendum was there, Proposition 68 or 86, I think it was, and they said we are going to remain. They voted with the proposition, meaning that they protected the right of marriage.
They wanted to protect the traditional way of marriage.
Yeah, the traditional way of marriage, right. And then last summer, the Supreme Court overturned that. Remember the
I
Defense
don't
of
remember
Marriage
that,
Act?
but now
it was changed. And that lady it was a lady that was an 84-year-old lady. Her living spouse died many years ago. She was obviously a lesbian, this lady, the 84-year-old lady, and she went to the Supreme Court and they ruled in favor of her getting benefits. Like after her spouse died, and they said that she can get, her girlfriend died many years ago, and she can get benefits, and that changed everything.
But is that the core issue here? Is that the core issue? Getting benefits and being treated like a regular married couple? Because if that is the core issue, then, of course, I don't really think it is, because we had civil unions in
Connecticut, yes. Massachusetts.
Yes, we have that. And I'm pretty sure that California might have started out with civil unions.
They did, but they weren't the first state. They were not the first state. Usually they're the first state for everything, but not in this case.
A pastor the other day got fired because he refused to marry a gay. I think the core issue is people standing up for what's in the Bible, and the Antichrist doesn't stand up for that. It's an Antichrist spirit.
Right, and look, Brother Danny, what was it, last week on the news, and I defend this person, by the way. This person I think he's a physical education teacher in Washington State, wanted to have morning prayer for his students. It was a public school, and he was suspended for that. And he's been doing it for a while, though. But I guess some of the parents complained about it, but there was a lot of parents who were for it, by the way, for public prayer in a public school. Now that, I know there's separation of church and state, but I mean, we used to have prayers in school when I was younger.
Well, that's not separation of church and state. But
that's what they say.
But hold on for just 1 second. We somehow, some way, that issue got all balled up. But let's go back to the California church supporting gays. As a minister, I've got a problem, and that is this. I would like to attract gays to my ministry because I'd like to have some sort of an open communication with them.
Correct. And you did, Pastor Dean, many years ago.
But I don't want to condone the activities. I don't want to even give the intimation that I'd like to support the movement. But how do we get these guys to come in? And you see, number one is I believe that this is a passing phase in America. It's just I believe, and I've said this before on this program. I'll say it again. You're going to think I'm nuts, and I probably am a little bit nuts. But I think that the gay thing is nothing but a passing phase. Maybe it's wishful thinking on my part. Number one. Just like the tattoo movement, if you think that tattoos are going to be in style 20 years from now, I got news for you. It's the same thing with hair on a man's chest. When I was handsome and 28 years old and 30 years old, it was very manly for somebody to have hair on your chest. And in fact, we used to.
Did you look like Magnum PI, Pastor Dean?
Yes.
Tom Selleck?
We used to unbutton our shirts about 2 buttons down to show the women that we were real manly. And I had hair in my chest. I was very proud of it. Now, if I go to the beach, I feel like an old fuddy-duddy because I haven't waxed myself. So the point that I'm trying to make is things go out of style. And this is I believe, is a thing that's been pushed by Hollywood. And eventually people are going to come back to reason. I mean, it's very, very obvious. We all know that it's wrong to be a practicing homosexual. We all know the reason why it's wrong. It's because, first of all, if you don't believe in God and 2 guys go to bed with each other, man, the parts just don't fit. So
I think it's an ending phase. I think it's an end time sign that we're at the end. I think it's going to bring us on out into the rapture of Jesus Christ. I don't think it's going to pass.
You very well could possibly be right, Dan. And I'm not going to.
Pastor Dean.
Yep.
Dan. I think Dan just hit it on the nose. I think that the lifestyle, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. It was judged.
There you go. Yeah.
I really believe that it's not going to be the end of the phase of that kind of lifestyle. I think it's just look at, for example, in countries like if you go to Saudi Arabia and practice that,
mm-hmm.
I mean, that it's abhorred. And it should be, but you don't.
But you have to bear in mind something, Chris, that homosexuality has always been around. This is not new.
That's correct. It is not new. That's why I just brought up Sodom and Gomorrah.
If you go back into Greek history, they would have temples that were dedicated to certain gods, and they would have prostitutes in the temple. Now that is you talk about going over the line. I mean, that's pretty terrible. I mean, but this has always been a problem since man has existed. We go back to Noah when his son saw him naked. Now I don't know if that was a gay problem or a homosexual problem. I really don't know, and we don't. That's a mystery. But homosexuality has always been rampant and has always been an issue. We went through a period when going back 20, 30 years ago where it was very, very discouraged. And now the pendulum has gone the other way. So I can understand where Danny's coming from as far as it being a sign of the end times. I think we've got so many signs of the end times. I mean, just look at, we have another natural disaster in Japan. I mean, these things just keep happening and happening and happening.
The volcano.
There are signs and signs and signs and signs. All the signs that have been given to us in the Scripture seem to have materialized, seem to have manifested. So,
and Pastor Dean, you just hit it on the nose. It's volcano Otake, Otake. That volcano, there was a lot of people up there at the summit, and they thought it would never blow up, and they had no chance to leave. There was hundreds of tourists up there, and they just found 31 bodies. I saw this morning on the news. It's just so disheartening when you hear such things like that. But I mean, you just never know.
Can I make a point? Can I make another point? I found out the other day. Interesting fact. I never thought about it this way, but I heard someone talk about the rainbow and how the rainbow is the flag of the gay people. I heard someone talk about the rainbow as a sign of covenant. and it was very interesting to me to think about the rainbow flag of the gay people in the context of the days we're living in, where the Antichrist is going to show up on the scene at any time now, and he's going to make a covenant with those people who would take the mark of the beast. And this is the day we live in the day of homosexuality.
Well, I agree with you, Dan. I really do, Brother Dan. I think that it's not unusual. They're doing everything. Like if you go to Europe, for example, they're putting chips in their bodies now. To like right now, like
it's all lining up. I mean, Russia.
It's all right. It's all lining up. You have the one
Russia
currency in euro.
Russia is flexing its muscles, more than flexing its muscles.
Right.
The European Union is getting together even, more and more.
And NATO,
as we speak.
hold
on, Chris. Hold on. The European Union seems to be more solidified than ever. You have even Henry Kissinger again. I guess he just wrote a book on the New World Order. You have the Pope talking about the New World Order. These are all signs that we are at the beginning of a very, very, very testy time for civilization.
Yes, and also the conflicts around the world, Pastor Dean. You see every region, there's like 5 or 6 conflicts everywhere. I'm talking about war, refugees. The biggest thing, Pastor Dean, and they just said this on the news, and I've heard this for in recent months. Last year set a record at the UN. Counted UNHCR, HR, I should say. That's the humanitarian refugee count, for the UN. They said that they have as much people who are refugees around the world, in hot spots around the world, in conflicts around the world, at the same period of time as the genocide of the Jews during World War II. Does that tell you something? I think it does. Over 51 million people are refugees in this world as of last year. They counted 51.3 million. I think that's unfathomable. I mean, you look at Jordan, you look at Turkey, you look at just the whole situation, Iraq. You just see all that. Just people are fleeing ISIS. What they're doing.
Danny,
that's just part of it.
Let me ask you something, Danny. What do you think is the most telltale sign of the second coming of Jesus?
Oh man, that's a hard one. You see the signs and wonders, the change in the weather.
Yep.
But I think that's not as noticeable to the general population. I just think the cold hearts, maybe I have to say, just the people and lawlessness, maybe, just anarchy.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, that's. I think that you've got a real valid point of view there. The cold
what
hearts.
About the rise of Islam, Pastor
with all the evangelization that has gone on throughout the world. I mean, you take a look at TBN, Daystar, all the ministries. I forget the God Channel. I mean, the world has become evangelized more than it has ever been, especially this country.
That's correct. That's correct.
And what's happening is the message is getting out, but people are hardening their hearts.
I pray it gets out more. I think that we still have a lot more preaching before the coming. I mean, I would hope like everybody it could happen at any time, and it could, and Jesus come right now. But I think there's going to be a lot more preaching the gospel to cover the world. Somebody already said that it's already been done as far as Scripture is concerned, that we don't need it to be preached anymore. It could happen any time. But I think that there's a lot more to cover.
Well, you know what? Because the harvest is going to be plenty. And,
Amen.
Right.
and